Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Am I audible to everyone? Great, thank you. All right, so when I came to know that the topic of the conference is shifting the designation of Chief Financial Officer or Chief Accountant Officer to actually Chief Value Officer, I thought that made a lot of sense because that's what we talk about. We data guys, we're always stressing upon the need of informed decision making. And honestly speaking, you can't add value in any organization unless and until you improve things around. And you can't improve things around if you can't measure the results and measure the goals that you're trying to achieve. And the measurement will only come in if you have your eyes on the data, if you have the data that you can measure, right? So that's the whole concept of what data intelligence, business intelligence, artificial intelligence is all about, right? And I was reading a quote from PwC once. If you can please go to the next slide, please. I was reading one of the quotes from PwC, and it said that basically the CFOs need to now add more value to the organizations across all the departments, and they should be telling the why of the financial data instead of what of the financial data. And that is very important. That's where the value will come in actually. Where would you actually get to know the why of the financial data? So you have hundreds of reports, you have MIS, you have dashboards, you have literally everything available on your fingertips. But you need to go back to the heads of business distributions, head of IT, head of your branch channels, head of your products, head of product marketing, head of marketing. You need to go back to them and tell them this is the very reason why we are having a depletion in the profitability, or why we are losing the customers in the form of churn, right? You're not supposed to tell your departmental heads that you have seen that the profitability has gone way down by maybe 25% year on year, or you're losing your customers at a rate of maybe 25% year on year. No, you need to actually understand what is causing your customers to go away. Is that a bad customer behavior? Is that a bad customer experience? So these are the things that will only come to your knowledge if you have the right set of integrated data available at your fingertips, which you can then use in turn to actually make informed decisions for the betterment of your organization and sustainable growth. Could you please go forward a couple of slides? This one, yeah. Have you ever thought about where the term dashboard came up from? We always talk about executive dashboards. The CEOs have their dashboards. 10 a.m. in the morning, they see a dashboard on your computer screens and they take decisions, right? Where did the term actually come from in the field of business intelligence or artificial intelligence? It actually came up from your car dashboard or the cockpit of your airplane that the pilots are extensively using to make decisions about how they're going to be flying the plane. Now, what happens when they look at the dashboard? You don't need to have plethora of information in the dashboard, because you will be looking at the dashboard while driving the car at the speed of 120 kilometers per hour on motorway, only for a split second or two, a couple of seconds, right? But in those couple of seconds, you need to ensure that you have the right set of information about the drive. Are you overspeeding? Any possibility of a challan on the motorway? Okay, I'm well below 120 or I'm well below 130. That's okay. That's what the dashboard is telling you, right? What is the temperature of the car? Is everything all good? Right? Is there any alert? Am I running low on fuel? No red light? Okay, my fuel tank is okay as well, right? This is what the dashboard is telling you, right? Right? But the question is that there comes another field by the name of management by exception. What is management by exception? You can't, before I go into the details, I still know the CEOs of banks in Pakistan who get a 100 pages report on their table to measure the performance of the bank. Hard copies. Honestly speaking, a CEO should be looking at the dashboard, looking at the alerts, and then focusing on the key issues that need attention, not the whole 100 pages report. You don't have time to look at millions of records to understand the organization of the health of your organization, to be honest. So what you need to know is that what is potentially going wrong, and then you focus, these are the exceptions that I need to really focus on, and then you start drilling down into the granular records. So you literally go away and do away with millions of records which don't really need your attention and focus on what really actually needs your attention. So that's what we call management by exception. Another important information that you need to have on your computer screens as CFOs, as chief accountants, as head of finances in different organizations is basically the real-time key performance indicators. Why real-time? When I was working with IBM and we used to have meetings with all these customers, we used to ask them one question: how much would you pay for a 5-day-old newspaper? You won't. How much would you pay for yesterday's newspaper? You won't. But how much would you pay for today's morning newspaper at 7 a.m. in the morning today? You will. You'll be able to pay $50 for that. Why? Because that's real time for you. That is giving you information that you need to make real-time, important, informed decisions that can help you with the sustainable growth of your organizations. So that is why we always stress upon that informed decision-making requires that the CFOs and the key decision-makers like all of you in this hall need to have access to the real-time KPIs. So first thing that you need to do when you go back is try to see that what are the key KPIs that are delayed for you. And in turn, that is actually delaying your decision-making. And that is directly impacting your bottom line, top line, revenues, profitability, whatnot, right? So go back, talk to the people who are preparing the data for you, and try to understand what is causing the delay. I can assure you, I've spent 17 years in this field, and I can assure you that, inshallah, technologically, you won't face an issue. The technical ecosystem in the data space currently is mature enough, globally as well as in Pakistan, for you to get access to the real-time data. Now, one important word of caution for sure, that real-time data comes at a cost of technology. So just make sure that you don't get everything in real time. You don't want everything in real time, right? You don't want every single KPI in real time. But there is a list of maybe 15% of the organizational-wide KPIs that you do need real time. Some you can do very easily for batch reporting, like day -1 reporting as well. So that's one important thing to understand. The second thing that I want to talk about is that other than MIS, you should be focusing on insights. So MIS is giving you what happened. It's a historical picture of how your organization is performing, right? What happened with my revenue? What happened with my profitability? What happened with my employees? What's going on in my organization, right? But that is data. Unless and until you convert the data into insights, you won't be able to take intelligent decisions. Now, how would you convert data into insights? That's $1 million question. You need cognitive power, right? You need someone or something to look at the data automatically and convert that data into meaningful insights and present to you the picture that is hidden within those billions of records. Now, that's exactly what artificial intelligence is. Many people talk about AI. Every single person these days, it's a buzzword. You go to the airports, you'll see on the walls as well, AI, AI, and AI. But what exactly AI is? Today, I'm going to give you a very simple definition of what AI is. So basically, we are blessed by Allah Ta'ala to look at things and perceive. We have eyes, we can see. We have ears, we can listen. We can digest. We can comprehend what we listen. We can understand, and we can then relate to different events to make a good decision, right? If somehow you're able to replicate these abilities and capabilities in machines, you can safely say that the machines are getting artificially intelligent in very simplistic terms. So for instance, machines have mics now, they can listen. Siri is one example on your iPhone, or even on your Android, I'm sure you have one, right? So you can talk to Siri and you can ask for your next flight time, right? So that's what mic is doing for them. Then you have machine learning capabilities that is actually allowing you to run statistical algorithms to decipher the information and convert the data and billions of records into meaningful insights that then you can use to derive meaningful conversations with your customers, right? So all these abilities, machines can see. You might have noticed that facial recognition is a perfect example of machines being able to see. They can recognize you. Punjab Safe City Authority has cameras all over the place in the city, and if they have a facial recognition camera, they can recognize that you have passed through a particular street. So that's how camera is enabling machines to see. So all these abilities combined together, replicated in machines, is allowing for us to say that, okay, now machines are getting artificially intelligent. So I'll give you one key example of artificial intelligence in financial sector area. We talk about assessing the credit worthiness of people. If we have CFOs and heads of finance from banks here or microfinance banks or other commercial banks as well, one of the key pain points actually for them is to assess the credit worthiness while lending to people, right? Initially and historically, what we've seen is that the credit worthiness was being assessed through judgment-based models, right? Judgment models, you can get World Bank on board, you can get many consultants on board, Big Fours on board, to get their expert point of view on judgment-based models, right? But now, you have another option as well, which can augment the capability of the judgment-based models, and I'm sure most of you are already doing that, and that actually is the statistical and machine learning-based credit scoring models. So you have the ability to crunch billions of records of lending and external data sets as well, and then you can come up with credit score, which is generated by a machine instead of a human being. And then obviously, unless you have trust in those machine learning-based and AI-based scores, what you can effectively do is that you can run judgment-based models and statistical models in parallel. And you can come up with a hybrid score. But to cut it short, it will make a lot of sense, maybe a few years down the road, that you'll start relying on the machine-based models, which is machine-based or machine learning-based credit scoring models. Another thing that I want to talk about is that when you go back, just also think that how you can analyze things about which you don't have the data available. So data availability is one of the biggest challenges, right? So I'll give an example of agri-lending in Pakistan. We were talking about agri-lending a few moments ago. In agri-lending, all you are relying upon is the historical behavior of the farmer with that particular bank. That's all you know. You know that whether the loan was paid off or not for that particular farmer. But how about thinking about proxy data? How about other data sets, like farm operations data set? What if someone can tell you that this particular farmer located in this particular village in Pakistan is running this crop, and this is the potential yield because this many times he has given the water to the field, this is the prospective rainfall, this is the wind direction, this is the fertilizer being used, this is the problem with the seed that we have seen previously. All these data sets, imagine this is the location of the farmer is hundreds of kilometers far from the commodity markets. So that's another problem that the farmer is going to face. Imagine all these data sets augmenting your capability to assess the credit worthiness of the farmer. That's one example. So go back and just think that what is the other data sets that is not lying in my core banking systems or my financial systems that I can effectively use to make informed decisions. Another example, we often talk about anti-money laundering. AML is one of the key subjects that we often talk about, right? Imagine that the capability of social network analysis. Now, social network analysis is that I send you money, you send money to someone else, and you send money to someone else. Within a few seconds, artificial intelligence systems can show you the insights around how the money is being transferred if you have the data. That is the key, obviously, right? So these are the things. Fraud analytics. One of the largest banks in one of the European countries relied upon deep learning, which is again AI-based mechanism, technique, to come up with fraud analytics. Fraud analytics to an extent which human beings were not able to actually identify because there were billions of records and there was so much hidden information in those records that they actually had to rely upon the data-driven insights, right? So basically, the way I want to present today is that it's a change of mindset. It's a change of culture. It's a change of entire thought process. If even today, I'm telling you examples that there are people who have manual reports available on the table and they're running big organizations. I'm not saying that's not the right way, but I'm saying there's another way as well. And it deserves a second opinion, right? So my basic message to all of you, is that just go for that change of culture. If somebody comes to you with an Excel sheet printed on the paper, please tell them to go back and come with a digital report which is dynamic. You can slice and dice. You can drill through. If somebody tells you that, Mr. CFO, look at this number of revenue, this has gone down by 15%. That's not enough. Ask him to bring a digital report copy which is dynamic, built in a business intelligence platform. When you see that number, you can double click on it. It can open up the granular records that actually cause that depletion of the revenue. Because otherwise your decision making is based on a gut feel. And gut feel is not going to work, to be honest. I'll give you a couple of more examples and I'll just wind up the session. But that's very important. So, have you seen that doctors, I'll give you an example of doctors, right? They're experts in their field. If somebody, I was recently talking to a doctor because we've just partnered up with Shaukat Khanam to come up with an artificial intelligence-based breast cancer detection algorithm. So we've just partnered up with them. We're doing state-of-art thing with Shaukat Khanam right now and expected to be presenting the research paper globally in the US, inshallah. But when we were talking to the doctors, it's very interesting. Doctors believe that 15 to 20% cases of breast cancer to be detected in mammograms go they're not able to actually identify them, unidentified, right? 15 to 20%. Now imagine you're talking about human lives, like 15 to 20% people go unidentified in mammograms, which is a very early mechanism of identifying a potential case of breast cancer, right? We are developing AI algorithms, basically computer vision algorithms, which take mammograms and then run some state-of-the-art algorithms on top of them, and then come up with regions of interest and the probabilistic analysis of a disease being present in the mammogram, right? And if we're able to do that, inshallah, I'm very much hopeful that we'll be able to do that, then imagine that this 15 to 20% error margin gets reduced to maybe 2% or 3%. You are adding a lot of value to the market. The reason I'm sharing this example of a medical science with all of you being in finance is that if a doctor is able to believe in the value of AI, then you should also. Because technically speaking, I'm an AI guy, right? I'm a data guy. I am not a doctor by any means. But if a doctor is listening to what algorithms are saying, that effectively means that if CFOs start listening to what algorithms are saying, even as a second opinion, not as a first opinion, human beings are not going anywhere. Human beings are there. AI is not replacing human beings. So that is just a noise. Basically, the new word is augmented intelligence, not artificial intelligence. And augmented intelligence is that this intelligence or this piece of intelligence is just augmenting the capability of human beings as a second opinion, not replacing them by any case. So I'll just cut short my talk here. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to respond to them. But and I'm available. My email ID is adnan.kazi@analytics.com.pk and adnan@10x.ai. Both I'm available on LinkedIn as well. If you have any questions about how AI is transforming our lives, how AI is adding value to the organizations, which I bet it is, just feel free to reach out to me. Thank you very much. Any questions, feel free to ask.